All right, so we're back with another Friends of Constructed Adventures. I'm Chris Waters, I'm the architect. And today I have Justin Nevins, who is the initial designer of the Cryptex. You might be familiar with this if you are familiar with anything by Dan Brown, namely the Da Vinci Code, both the book and the movie. It was number one bestseller. Pretty sure the movie was number one at the time as well. I saw it, loved it. I remember reaching out actually to Justin right when I started this business to talk about the Cryptex and realizing I was a little bit too poor to be able to afford one of his styles. But I'm not anymore, and I since then have one. I actually got it for Christmas from my wonderful twin brother. Let me make sure I have the correct password. But the idea behind the Cryptex is you have a bunch of spinning dials with usually letters, but you could use pretty much whatever you want. And we'll actually talk about some of the things that he's done. And then once you get the correct password, in this case it is Chris, it opens up and reveals anything you want inside. It could be a message, it could be a key, it could be another Cryptex, and we'll talk about that too. It is really fun. I use them for the majority of the adventures that I create, mostly because it's kind of the perfect way to propel somebody forward. And so without further hesitation, let me bring in Justin and we'll start chatting. All right. Justin, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And so, first and foremost, for anybody that's viewing, if you want, go ahead. Feel free to ask questions. I will bring those questions in to basically pop them up on screen so we can chat about it. So, if you have questions about puzzles, because the work that he does with puzzles, if you have questions about the design that he has, anything and everything, don't hesitate, and then we'll answer those as we go. So, first and foremost, tell me a little bit about your backstory. Tell me about how you got started with this whole thing. What were you doing beforehand?
Um, well, I had a completely different life path before doing this. I was a corporate consultant and internationally traveled around. I was working out of Cincinnati, and I kind of just got fed up with the whole corporate world and all of the politics and office stuff. And like, I didn't like people telling me how I should do things. And I basically just wanted to help customers, and I was kind of told that my job was to bill hours, not help customers. So I just quit. I said, I can't take this anymore, and I wanted to get out of that industry, even though that's kind of what I had trained for my whole life. I have a master's degree in international business, focusing on production operations, and I just said, I can't do this anymore. So I went back home and trying to figure, and like right after I quit, it was 6 days before 9/11. And I was like, oh, that's really bad. And so I tried finding work for the longest time after that, and I couldn't. And then I just went back to my parents, lived in Tacoma, Washington. So I came back to Tacoma, and I started teaching kids and doing some tutoring, and I started creating little games and puzzles and things for them to go through. And one of the things I came up with was the Cryptex. And
Yeah.
the
And so you had told me that's where it got started. So you told me that you were listening to the Da Vinci Code, which is Dan Brown. Dan Brown was the person that came up with the idea of the Cryptex, or does it
yeah,
go further back?
No. Dan Brown is actually the person that came up with that in the movie the book The Da Vinci Code. And I was driving across country and I was listening to the book, and I was really fascinated with the concept and idea of the Cryptex.
Yeah.
And so I said, that's really cool. I kind of put that in the back of my mind for a while. And then when I'd gone back to Tacoma and I was working on puzzle games and things like that to teach kids with, I said, I bet you I can make one of those. And I ended up doing that.
Yeah. And now you're here, and so you do this full time. You
Yeah.
have multiple lines of these. I remember when I first started off and I reached out and we talked about the price point of it, which isn't crazy, but definitely more so than like the rinky dink ones that you could get on like Amazon, which, these aren't bad. They definitely, like, if you have a low budget, you can get these in a pinch. I remember you talking about how sometimes people reach out and they're like, I'm just doing this for my kids. And you're like, okay, well, this thing. And I can tell you I've gone through a lot of these because they break a lot easier and there's a little bit of jingle and you can brute force them, which I have figured
Yeah.
out. And we can talk about that in a bit. And then I finally got my hands on this one, and I can't bring myself to use it for an actual adventure because it's like my baby. It's my favorite color. It's actually like matching
Yeah.
this. And I know I'm going to use it eventually for something special, like with my twin brother who gave it to me when I eventually do like a ridiculous one for him. But you were listening to this, and then you You're listening to the Vinci Code, and you're like, I can make that. And then what happened? What did you do?
Um, Well, I made the first one, and I was making it for this puzzle hunt. Well, it's kind of an internal puzzle hunt. I would house sit for kids, and I would do these games things, kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons role playing game, and teaching aid type of a thing. And I made one of the Cryptexes, and my mom said that's really cool. One of my friends actually came over and was like, "That's really cool that you did that." I've always wanted to make. I've always made little gadgets and little devices and little puzzles and carved things out of wood and stone and metal, sort of like little artist type of things. And so it was not unusual for him to come over and have me making something like this. And he said, "That's really cool. Can you make me one?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I'll make you one." And he goes, "I'll give you $100 for it." I go, "Okay, cool." Would have done it for free,
Yeah.
but I wanted a new drill press, which cost $300. So he says, "Okay, I'll buy 3 of them from you, but I want you to number them, number 1, number 2, and number 3." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because when you become famous, I want to be able to say I bought the first one." And I go, "Okay, whatever. 1 out of 4."
Yeah.
You know?
And if you look at my screen, you'll see I have number 1690, and that's just in this line. I would imagine it depends on the line, and we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. And so I just started making those, and then it came around to where my mom said, "Can you make me one?" I said, "Sure." I made her one, and then she turned to me and says, "Okay." She handed it right back to me when I got done. I go, "What'd you do that?" She goes, "You need a sample, and I know you wouldn't just make one for yourself, so use this as a sample." One of her friends bought one, and then somebody said put one on eBay, so I put it on eBay, and then it just got a whole bunch of bids. And then a guy who didn't win the bid for it, he called me up and said, he's a local guy, and he says, "I'll make you a website in exchange for one." I said, "Okay, why not?" And I did that. The website went live, and it was like explosion. So because at the time no one ever made any Cryptexes, and everyone was searching for them. Everybody's like, "I need," there's all these sites out there. They're going, "Where can I get a Cryptex? Where can I get a Cryptex? Where can I?" And nobody made any, and nobody knew how to make them. And I just did it just for fun, and it got really popular. In fact, I got too many orders. I was getting dozens of requests a day for Cryptexes. And at that time, they were all custom made by hand, one of a kind originals that would take me several weeks to make. I think my lead time was like 4 to 6 weeks to make one, and I was charging $300, $400, $500 for them at that time for the handmade ones. You can't get one anywhere near that price now.
No.
But it was I was working for like $3 an hour making these things. I was really not making any money at all, but the quality was lower because I was new to doing it.
Yeah.
And as I progressed and got better and better and better, I charged more money and I got better. So it was kind of like my own internal internship where I got paid next to nothing. But I learned how to make it, and then that gave me the skills to be able to make them better and better and better. So if I'd come out and said, "They're $1,000 a piece," I wouldn't have sold any.
Yeah.
And then it just went from there.
It's wild because I have a similar path in my events, where the first one that I did was on Reddit. It was for the Reddit Secret Santa gift exchange, and it hit the front page of Reddit, and my best friend was like, "I'm going to make you a website. This is awesome." And so he makes me a website, and it got linked on the Reddit thread, and it blew up, and I had tons of people that were like, "Oh my God, I want you to do one for me, for my family, or for a proposal, or for this. Like, how much do you charge?" And I remember I was like, the first one's total $350. And that was like including the at cost, like going to 2 restaurants and like all the materials. And so I think I finished that, and there was no way we turned a profit. Maybe like $50. And at that point, we'd put 2 weeks and like, an entire day of work and all of this stuff. But it was like an internship. And when you first start off, you can't charge insane amounts because you're untested. So you kind of have to build up. And now I'm kind of finally at that point where I have the SEO. I mean, obviously, pandemic aside, being an event planner, a pandemic sucks. And you were telling me, like, everyone kind of turtled up and is like, "Nope, we're just buy toilet paper." And like, that's the only thing that we buy. And so the budget for Cryptex probably isn't quite what it was. But my assumption is that when we finally get through this, there'll be a renaissance, like another roaring 20s of everybody wanting to do events and everybody wanting to do things, go out dancing, and like puzzles and escape rooms and puzzle hunts are going to be huge, bigger than they were before. So fingers crossed, we'll see about that. But it is kind of funny how you do that. And so how long did it take you before you got to kind of where you are now, where it's like there are multiple high ends, people are buying a ton of them? Yeah.
Well, originally when I first started making these, I was making each one was individually made by hand, and then they would basically someone would call me up and say, "Hey, I'd like something made," and I said, "What kind of wood would you like?" Because I did them all out of wood for the most part. I did do some out of metal as well, and then I got a guy call me up from Sony Pictures. He was the vice president in charge of finance at Sony Pictures or something like that. I can't remember exactly. It's been 15 years. And he said, "Can you? I want to get one of these for the president of Sony Pictures for a retirement party or something. Can you make one out of granite and some kind of silver metal?" And I said, "Absolutely, I can totally do that." And he's like, "How much will it be?" And I'm like, "That's gonna be $1,100 or something, whatever it was." I hung up the phone and go, "Oh my gosh, I got to figure out how to make this thing out of granite now." So, because I had no idea, and so I did. I figured out how to make them out of stone, which was really, really hard to do at first. And then I made those, and then after, it got kind of big, and I made some for a TV show. NBC called me up for a TV show called Treasure Hunters, and they wanted 4 of them that had to be nested one inside the other.
Can you show the nested ones real quick?
Yeah, this is 11 pounds. They wanted them made out of all solid brass. So.
Oh my god. And how many rings are there? Because mine has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which kind of seems like the standard. It's like 5 or 6, but they can be made with as many rings as you want. Obviously, it might get like comically long. That's wild.
This one has 7, and then when you open it up, it's got a smaller one inside, like this.
That is so cool.
But that was specially designed, and they wanted, they have this, thing on the end cap. What is that? The Masonic thing, and Rosicrucian cross, and all these different things. So they wanted these for this TV show, and so I made 4 of those, and I basically took all the money that I made from that, and
now we're just throwing Cryptexes all over.
I know, that's the problem. Yeah, when I watched the TV show and they opened it up, and then they because those things took me like 120 hours per to do. Like I worked for 6 weeks and 3 days, 20 hours a day straight. Like that's all I did for 6 weeks. I ended up going to the hospital afterwards. I totally under that too. But I was like, oh wow, okay, like $25,000, and like okay, I'm like, oh, I meant 50. Yeah. But I took all that money and I used that to make tooling because I was understanding that the demand was becoming so high that I couldn't keep up with it. And I ended up having to I knew that I needed to make something that was going to be more mass production, not mass production, but something that I could produce in quantity, because each of these was individually coded, so they're all custom made by hand. It takes weeks to make them. So I needed something that could be made in advance and you could have a resettable code. And so in order to do that, I'm either going to have to do a lot of real precision machining, or I'm going to have some injection molding and do some other stuff. So I used all the money I made from that to create the version that you have, which at the time was called the replica, but people keep saying replica gives it a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So it's not really a replica, it's the standard or
like
basic.
Your normal basic
the
model.
normal, yeah. I mean, they're really high quality. I mean, it's still solid hand-polished brass. They weigh about 3 pounds. They're really, you can drop those things, throw them on the ground, throw them up in the air. Yeah. They're really good for escape rooms, because that's the thing. Like you were talking about the $50 one.
Yeah.
I had so many customers from escape room companies that are, they go through like 10 of those things because anybody drops it, it's broken. Then they go, it's $335 for yours. I don't know if and I go, it won't break. Don't worry about it. It won't. And they last for years. And you can beat them to hell and they'll be okay.
And you can change them. And I haven't changed mine from the initial password, which my brother set. But if my brother can do it, anybody can do it because my brother's an idiot. Just kidding. We're twins, so we kind of have to do that. And it's just like that's basically. It seems like that's probably the case now. Is people start with the little ones because there's an easy price point and they get into it, and then they try it once or twice and it's fine, and then one of the plastic rings breaks. Or the issue that I've had with a lot of them is the stuff's come off. Like the letters have faded away just because people put their fingers on them, and then I'm like, okay, time for me to jump up to the big leagues and do this. And it's interesting. Before the pandemic hit, I had a couple clients that had the budgets to be able to do where they wanted the budget to go toward really, really nice ones. And so I was looking into purchasing them, and then COVID-19 hit. It was like, it's all gone. So
you pick up some business.
Yeah. Can you show me the one that has different symbols on them? Because I think that's really cool, and I would love to have you explain that.
Well, I have lots of, I can do all kinds of different symbols.
Yeah.
The one I've done, I have one that's done in Cyrillic, it's a Russian one, and I have one that's done in Wiccan, which is like a witch
Oh my
language.
God. Yeah, can you grab that one? I'd love to see it.
Oh, the Wiccan one? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is one that I made for a TV show called Witches of East End. And this is a custom-made 7 code ring box with rosewood. This is Bolivian rosewood and then brass. And each of these rings
Can you hold it up a little bit higher? There we go.
Has the Wiccan alphabet on it. And so they asked me to design that certain one. And nobody knows the password really to this one. It's interesting because I ended up buying this back at an auction. After the show was done, you know, they have hero props. They'll often sell them off again. So I went to my wife and I said, I want to buy this. And she's like, okay. And she goes, why do you want to buy it? You just make one. I go, yeah, I know. But like the parts alone, like I could just resand it down and refinish it and sell it for $1,700 or something. And so I said, if I can get it for under $1,500, it's worth it for me to buy it. And then even keep it, you know, sell it as it is, or just polish it up and sell it, you know, put the different rings on. And I ended up getting it for like $209. And I'm like, man,
this is great.
Yeah, it was great. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to keep it.
Yeah,
you know?
Of course.
So
at that point, you're fine.
Yeah. But I got one like that. And then this is one I made for the Cryptex hunt, which is a puzzle hunt that we put on every year.
Yeah, I want to talk about that next. Oh, man, that's so friggin' cool. Hold on, let me, I'm going to put you on the full screen. Hold it up a little bit higher. And so, symbols in between, and then symbols are...
Yeah.
Tell me about each. Is that the same alphabet or like the same thing, or is it like different for each ring?
So each code ring, the metal code rings, has the same alphabet on it. It's a trinary, I don't know, tertiary, ternary, I don't know. It's a base. It's kind of a base 3 numbering system, but it comes out so you have like 3 times 3 times 3, and then you get 27, and I don't know. Anyway, it's this really cool font that we made for the well, not I didn't make it. Errol Elmer, who did a lot of the work on the original Cryptex hunt, he did that font as part of a puzzle, and then we incorporated that into the Cryptex. And each of those rings, we've got like a black granite. You know, I don't know if I should have it up here like this while I'm showing people, but we've got the black granite, the red granite, it's a dragon granite, the white Carrara, and the Antique Verde green, and then this is a blue pearl. And each one of these represents the story of the game was about a 5-headed dragon who's got black, red, white, green, and blue heads that shoot. This one shoots acid or breathes acid. This one breathes fire. That one breathes ice. This one breathes poison, and this one breathes electricity. And so I created these little symbols there for each of the different elements.
Oh, that's cool. So
there's the element. Sorry. So each of the different elements on there, and then and etched them into the stone, and then inlaid that with 24 or 23 karat gold.
Oh my God.
So, and then there's like a little symbol of the Prexit dragon on the end caps there.
Yeah.
With stuff written in there.
Okay, and so let's scoot back a little bit. Let's talk about the Cryptex hunt.
Sure.
Because everybody's always looking. The goal with these that I do is to, you know, connect with the puzzling community, but also bring in people that aren't really aware that there's this whole world. Like, there's a Slack channel that's pretty aggressive, and I mean that in a good way, but they're all about escape rooms and puzzle hunts. And there's lots of channels that talk solely about alternate reality games, whether it's like a small one or a big one put on by like a company. Right. And so talk a little bit about how this started and how long it's been going and how people can get involved.
Well, originally, I should talk about escape rooms first real quick, because I didn't know, like you said, a lot of people don't know what these things are. I didn't know what escape rooms were until about 5 years ago, and I kept getting these people that would call me up or send me an email or whatever and say, how durable are your Cryptexes? And I'd say, they're very durable. And he goes like, well, but really, how durable? I go, I don't know, what's the durability scale? I don't know how to, it vary, super, ultra, I don't know what, like, what do you need it for,
Yeah.
And he go, well, I don't know, I'll take one, and he bought it, and I said, you could drop it. He goes, can you drop it? Yeah. Is it gonna break? No. And then he bought one, and then he was in Spain. He immediately turned around and ordered 7 more.
Wow.
And I go, okay, like, I'm really happy to sell you 7 Cryptexes. That's great and everything, but why do you need 7 Cryptexes? And he says, well, because I run a chain of escape rooms in Spain. I'm like, awesome. what's an escape room? And he told me, and I'm going like, are you kidding me? These things exist, you know? And then I just really got into the whole escape room community. I went to a trade show and I started meeting a lot of different people and have different people that do podcasts and different puzzling community in the Slack chat you were talking about. And so when we were sitting around in the Slack chat talking, I used to spend a lot of time in there. Like, it was just on all the time, and I just basically talk all the time. I like to talk a lot.
Yeah.
For those of you who, those of you know me, I totally do that. But one of the guys, there's like 3 or 4 guys. There's Dan Miller or Darren Miller, and Dan Egnar, and Errol Elmire, and Stripe. I can't remember what his name. David something. I can't remember his last name. My brain's been going since COVID. I'm just like, I can't remember anything anymore.
We're all overloaded.
Yeah, we were just talking. I don't know who came up with the idea, but somebody says we should do I was talking about International Cryptex Day. So I created this holiday. We called it International Cryptex Day. I was going to sing some Cryptex carols, and we were just kind of joking about it because it sounds a lot like Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, I actually did write a Cryptex carol for a song for a podcast that we did once, and so we were just joking around about making it a holiday. And he goes, you should do a puzzle hunt for International Cryptex Day. I go, sure, And so Errol stepped up, and Darren and a bunch of other guys, they all stepped up, and we started designing this whole thing. They did most of the design work and everything, and kind of ran the things past me as to what we should do. And we had the idea for making a dragon with 5 heads, and it would be a fantasy story, because that's what I like. I like, Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy games, things like that. So we created this whole big puzzle hunt thing, and it was really, really cool. It was super elaborate. And I made these as prizes. This one that I showed you was the grand prize. We gave that away. And that's like a $4,000 or $5,000 Cryptex.
Yeah, that's a legit one. I want it really bad.
Yeah, that was the hardest one I've ever made. Well, except for like the nested ones. But it was really, really cool. And then we gave away draw prizes and T-shirts and other stuff. I just wanted to give stuff away. And it gave me an opportunity to, because I always wanted to make one like the one you saw.
Yeah.
But like my mom, she was like, you're not going to make it just for your own self. Like, I've got too many other things going on that are going to pay me money to sit there and spend my time just creating something for nothing or for no reason. And so this gave me an opportunity. So every year I try to do something new with the Cryptex design. And it enables me, and it's like, I'm giving it away. So like, you can't, if you're upset with it, it's free. Yeah. So if it was a design that didn't work out well, you're what are you going to say? But, so we created these puzzle hunts, and then it just became big. It's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The first year we did Brexit Quest, which was it was a multi-user dungeon. So it was kind of like those word-based adventure games that used to play back in the 80s and 90s and such. And then you would go into the mud. You had to figure out how to get into the mud, and then you travel around and you come into these places where there's puzzles.
Mud, what do you mean by mud?
The multi-user dungeon.
Multi-user dungeon. So essentially, it's a bit kind of like a. I'm trying to think of a really easy way to describe a multi-user dungeon. It's a little bit akin to Dungeons and Dragons, but it's built like a puzzle where there's a way to win. Right? It's not like a little bit freeform like D&D.
Well, yeah, no, it's like the early stage like role-playing computer games.
Gotcha.
Where it's just text-based.
Okay.
So you say like go north, you'll type go north, and you'll say go south, go south, go south. You see a river, what do you want to do? And jump in river, you type things out. So you have all these. So it was all kind of a text-based adventure game. But inside that, like, we took this big platform, this big Midgard was this platform that we used, and then we put in different puzzles, and there was like, I don't know, like 20, 30, 40, like escape room, not even really like puzzle hunt scale puzzles.
Yeah.
It gradually got tougher and tougher and tougher and tougher and tougher. And then, each day we would have a big grand puzzle, and the first person to win that would get a T-shirt or something. And then and then at the very end, we'd have this giant meta thing. And it was so funny because we thought it would be like maybe 3.5 hours for someone to finish the whole thing. Yeah. And I remember Errol was monitoring it all, and his family wanted to go out to dinner. And he was like, we can't go to dinner because, the Cryptex hunt's going to be over any minute now. It ended up taking 10.5 hours. So we had these guys. There's guys out there that are working for 10.5 hours straight trying to solve this puzzle. Yeah. And it was really, really hard. And it ended up being really cool. Like one of the guys that ended up finishing it, Dr. Exor. That's his screen name. He won the first one, and he ended up helping out in the second one too, which is really neat. So the next year we did Cryptex magazine, which is like this.
That's so great.
So it was an idea to we created this magazine, and each of the pages Each page is it looks like an article.
Yeah.
Or an advertisement.
I see Post Curious, so shout out to Rita,
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
her
this is one of my favorite
Kickstarter
puzzles.
just finished today,
I
and I
know.
know initially she was going for like $33,000, and I'm pretty sure it's at like $280,000.
Yeah,
Like
it's
people
like
flipped it. I backed it.
yeah. Like even on this one here, like to get into the puzzle, there's a puzzle on the first page, and you have to figure out how to find the puzzle on this in order to figure out how to get into the puzzle hunt, which was then managed by Cluekeeper, which I'm sure you're very well familiar with it. But the whole thing is just a bunch of things that looks like ads and articles. Like there's Dear Man Pans, which was kind of like Dear Abby,
Yep.
and uses for a Cryptex with a forgotten code, and all of these different things were puzzles, and so it was really, really cool. We also did it's become kind of a tradition. I don't think we did this year, but we've always put a Room Escape artist puzzle in. Mm-hmm. So this one here was the Cryptex Flicks. It was like Netflix, and it was all things from the Room Escape artists tours that they did. But it was really cool. So we did that just as a puzzle. And we actually printed these up. It was all able to do online, and you can do all of these things. You can just go to cryptexhunt.com and you can play all of these things.
So what is it? Cryptexhunt.com?
Yeah. It should. I hope it's still working.
Well, we'll find out.
there was a security code issue thing or some kind of a certificate thing that was an issue earlier, but I should be working. But you can go back and do archived versions. You can do the Brexit Quest. You can do the Cryptex magazine. And then this year, Errol wrote a novel. He wrote a novel, like a puzzle novel, and it's the puzzles are all within the novel. And so each year we try to do something different. The guys that work on it they're just so brilliant, and they put so much work into it just for the fun of it. Yeah. That's the thing I love about this, the escape room, puzzle hunt, puzzle community, prop people. Like most of the people, 99% of the people in this industry, they love what they do. Yeah. And it's not, they're not, I mean, they're profit driven, of course, because you got to make a living on these things.
Making like rent and like eating food. Love it. Huge fan.
But they're not greedy. It's like they just want to make something really cool and really fun. And if they have free time, they do stuff for free. Like I have a lot of people volunteer for stuff for me just because they want to be involved in puzzle hunt type of stuff. Yeah. And that's just amazing, that they'll do that. Like I do a lot of stuff too. Like I make Cryptexes and stuff for people for free if it's, for a project I'm working on or if I'm doing something, maybe pay costs or materials or something like that. I'll do all the labor for free. But it's a cool endeavor that we do. And we've been doing it. It's the third year. Hopefully we'll keep doing it.
So when do you guys start on the next? Is it Cryptex Hunt? When does the next one start?
We usually launch the Cryptex Hunt on or around International Cryptex Day, which is March 1st. Uh-oh. So March 1st, from now, mark your calendars. March 1st is International Cryptex Day, and so we usually do it like on a weekend before, and it'll usually go a whole week. It's not like a one-time thing. The Brexit Quest we had an opening weekend, and then we had 5 really hard daily puzzles, and then we had a closing weekend, which we had that was when the meta finale was, and they had 10 puzzles in it, and it's quite interesting. I mean, I think we had over 1,000, maybe 2,000 participants this year, which is pretty massive for an online puzzle hunt.
Is there any type of like social media channels or websites to go to basically be like, hey, remind me, send me an email when this next one's live? If not, we should probably figure something out. And I know like the Slack channel for escape rooms or plugged into that community, but it's probably good to have figure out somewhere we can.
The best thing actually, if you go to my website at cryptex.org, cryptex.org, and I think there's a mailing list, and that's what I use. Like every year, I will go and I will meticulously mail out a whole bunch of emails. I used to use MailChimp, but MailChimp stuff gets blocked so much, so I end up just going through and individually sending them out a whole 50 at a time. Yeah. It takes me all day because I have limits of how much I can send in an hour and everything. So I can't mass spam everything, but it usually takes me about 24 hours to send, and I'll send out announcements to everyone. Yeah. And so if you're on that list, if you're on my mailing list, I think I got maybe 1,500, 2,000 people. I don't know, it's a lot. Yeah. Then you'll get a notification. But there's
Cryptex.org. No, I think that's the best way to go. Cryptex.org, and we'll talk about it at the end. Jason Echo says hi in the comments. So I think you might have been talking about him. That might have been.
Just became a grandfather. He got mad at me because I didn't congratulate him earlier, but I was really busy.
Now's your opportunity to congratulate.
Congratulations, Jason, becoming a grandfather.
Yeah. So the puzzle or the Cryptex hunt kind of reminds me. There's one that's pretty well known in Arizona, which I cannot believe I'm blanking on the actual name, but it's one of those where you have teams of people, and I think you have to have 4 or 5, and the winning team. You have to you sign a thing when you enter that if you win, you join the group of people that builds the following year.
And that's actually the MIT Mystery Hunt is like that.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
The MIT Mystery Hunt, to me, that's like the Super Bowl of puzzle hunts. That's just the biggest one, I think, out there. And I'm sure there's more, but that's the one that I know is really. I've actually solved a few of the individual puzzles, but I've never done finished the whole mystery hunt.
Are they super challenging?
For me, yeah. I'm not a super puzzles. I'm pretty good. You know, I can do escape room puzzles and I can do some puzzle hunts, but I didn't even finish the first Brexit quest. I got it almost done. I had 5 puzzles left. I couldn't finish the last bit. I did finish the Cryptex magazine. I was very proud of that.
I'm still working on Society of Curiosities as a mail-in adventure. I did an interview with them on Instagram Live and then signed up. It's kind of satiating as I wait for Rita's Emerald Flame to come out, which unfortunately is going to be for a while because she has to send out thousands of them. And
I know.
In the middle of a global pandemic, supply chain is a little wonky, and so stuff is just running late. I'm still waiting on a Swiffer to come in from Amazon, and they're like, Swiffers are sold out. It's oh, cool. But yeah, one thing I found out is it's interesting. I'm good at making events and creating a wonderful thing, but a lot of people reach out and they're we want puzzles, we want challenge, and I was that's not I could do puzzles and I'll take things that I know really well. It's Arizona Treasure Hunt, by the way. My wonderful mother just texted me that ArizonaTreasureHunt.org, aztreasurehunt.org. You can hop on there. I think they just did theirs as well. But it's worth checking out if you're looking for kind of unique experiences. We can run through some of those toward the end of this of what we love, our favorites. But I've realized I'm not great at figuring out puzzles. I'm doing this one, and I was man, I am asking for a lot of hints. I am not as smart as people give me credit for. But yeah, there is something to be said about escape room puzzles need to be a little bit easier versus a puzzle hunt where the grand prize is a $5,000 Cryptex. Not surprised that you gotta weed out some of the slackers, some of the people that aren't ready and prepare.
Yeah, and one of the things that I did when we were first doing this, a lot of puzzle hunts, you have the prize for the winner, whoever gets done fastest or whatever, and not a lot of, in fact, very rarely do they have prizes for puzzle hunts, just because it's expensive to make prizes and things. Yeah. But if you do Dash or something, you're not going to get a prize. You might get a T-shirt or something. I don't think you get even a T-shirt for that. Dash is for a different area, same hunt. That's a internationally done puzzle hunt that happens. It's in the real world, and they're in all these different locations, and you have to come. Yeah, write that one down. It's good. You'll love it. And you have to go within the there's one in Seattle, and you go to Seattle, and you have to do all these different things. And there's here's a bunch of stuff from it. This is some things I got from it. This is a 3-dimensional puzzle from the last dimension thing, and then there's weird sine waves you got to figure out. Anyway, I just noticed that was sitting right there. But that's a really great puzzle. That's pretty hard for me. I had a really hard time the first time I ever did that. I barely got through. They were the sun was going down and people are going, get out of here. And I was please, I just want to finish this one last thing. And I did finish, but I was the last guy. It was took me 9 hours or something horribly. Yeah. But Dash is a really great one. But a lot of times they don't have prizes. So when we did ours, I said, I want to give up prizes. And I'm yeah, what do you want to give prizes for? I go, I think it's just cool. I think it's neat. But the thing that I really, 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 really wanted to do was I wanted to be able to give prizes to people who were not the pro puzzlers. I mean, there's people.
They already own your Cryptexes, right?
There's a handful of people out there that blow me away, the way they can do puzzles. One of so many, I'm not going to name any names, but there's a couple of friends of mine that I just go, oh my gosh, how can you do this? And even my friends who are really good at puzzles go, oh my gosh, how can they do this? Just absolutely brilliant, and I admire them so much. But we don't want the same 5 people, around the world solving. And they should win. We actually have a rule: you can't win more than once, I think, in 5 years for the Cryptex hunt, the grand prize anyway. Yeah. So what I said I wanted to do, anybody who finishes the puzzle hunt within a month,
Yeah.
like, so you have the whole month of March. If you finish it by the end of March, your name gets entered into a drawing,
Yeah.
and then I will give away as many prizes and equal things to anybody who finishes, as I gave away for the actual people who were the first to complete each daily puzzle or each weekly chapter or whatever. And that way, it's not. I gave like a replica version of this guy here, not with real stone. But with the spacer rings that are the colors, like the blue spacer ring that you
Yeah.
have,
Oh yeah.
but with blue and red and yellow and green, all that.
Yeah.
So
So much.
yeah, um, so I give one of those away as a drawing each time. So I wanted to incentivize people who are not the pro puzzler
Yeah.
people to be able to play in it. Like people like me,
Yeah.
I have a lot of my friends who are, they like puzzles and things like that, but they're not gonna win.
Yeah. I'm not spending 10 hours on a puzzle. I just can't. Like I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't have the
10
bandwidth.
hours on the puzzle, but I'll do it over a period of a month.
Yes.
Like
Yeah. That's exactly
hour
true.
a day in after dinner or something.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing is we designed them so that you can complete them in a whole big long period. So that way people get to play, and it encourages people to just play and enjoy them, because they're so much fun to do. Like a lot of these games,
I strongly recommend getting into puzzles. I actually want to interject. I got a great question.
Yeah.
I'm going to add it up here from Kristen Mills. What countries do you ship Cryptexes to?
I ship them anywhere that mail can be received. So as long as your country is someplace that I can ship to, legally ship to. I don't know if there's some place that may be banning shipments from the United States because of
we're
reasons,
not doing a great job with COVID
Yeah.
right now. So
yeah, if you're in the middle of a civil war or something, maybe not, but I don't have any restrictions. I don't have any restrictions, but
it's interesting. I have a Patreon account for people that want to support me, and if and I do tutorial videos on this YouTube channel of just like, oh, here's like, some are just like, here's how you build a word search puzzle for people that aren't aware of that, and then others are like, here's the philosophy behind like why you should do this, why you should do a dead drop instead of like this,
Yeah.
and I got a patron that's actually in France. And so I've written this thing out and I put a sticker. I give stickers to my patrons. This is like my shameless plug, right?
Mhm.
But now I'm like, I wonder, like, can I just ship this to France? Like, how does it work? So I'm just gonna like walk down to the post office, later today or tomorrow, and be like, so what do I need to do to make sure that this arrives to France? So I do understand there's something to be said. I was prepping to do an adventure in Costa Rica, and they talked about how like you go into Costa Rica and like, yeah, there's addresses, right, and Google Maps, but Google Maps is not caught up like it would be in Seattle or in Portland. And sometimes the directions you have to put are like third mailbox once you turn down here, right? Because there's no street numbers. So I'd imagine
next to the palm tree.
yeah, but if you live in a place like that, you hopefully have some type of mailbox, or you have, you've figured it out. So the short answer is you can pretty much ship them anywhere. That goes without saying, if anybody has any questions, it looks like comment section works now. Don't hesitate to ask any questions about the Cryptex in general. Heck, you can ask about the adventures I put on. You can ask about the different puzzle hunts. I'm going to ask a question, and it's going to be, what have been your favorite types of puzzles and games in general, but specifically since the pandemic started and like we can't go to escape rooms and things?
For me?
Yeah, for you.
Oh.
Oh, did I just put you on the spot?
The pandemic's been really hard on me. Like, I'm super depressed because I'm very much an extrovert and I love to go out, and I absolutely love escape rooms. I had plans to do about 75 escape rooms before this whole thing hit. I was going to go down to Portland and do a couple dozen. I was going to go to Colorado and do 26, and then Florida, and then I wanted to go to Europe and do 50. But since this whole pandemic thing, traveling's just not going. Even escape rooms aren't open. I tried playing a couple of puzzle hunt stuff, but it just makes me sad.
Oh no!
But, like I tried doing the puzzle hunts and the at home games and things like that, and it just makes me sad that I can't go out and do escape rooms, and so I haven't really done a lot. I've been kind of depressed since this whole thing happened.
I know it has been really weird how things have changed. I flew out in what was supposed to be a four adventure like month and a half long trek where I was going to do a proposal in Denver and then do 2 birthdays in New York City, and I flew out on Thursday, March 12th, and I went to go scout, and I went to some of the restaurants that's my client had said, oh yeah, let's like potentially have this be a stop, and the restaurants are like, dude, we're not going to be open next Friday. Like everything's shutting down. I remember on the flight, March Madness got canceled, and I was like, okay, this is a thing. Like something's happening. And my twin brother, who's a designer for Disney, he texted me and he was like, we all just got sent home. Like everybody's like anything you could like, everybody's working from home. And so then that night I literally flew back home, and I had, I think, 10 or 11 events, like adventures booked. And now I'm down to 3 that are still, and thank you, bless you, 3 clients that were like, listen, just, we'll just postpone it. If we have to do it next year, we'll do it next year. And so I really appreciate that. But I've actually been, I think it was, oh gosh, I don't know if it was Ariana. One of my previous interviewees talked about Puzzle Snacks, which is, honestly, it's a great little book. It's very crossword-esque. But it's built by the guy. His foreword was really great. Eric Berlin. He talked about how he wanted to get his kid into puzzles, and he's like, "What better than the New York Times crossword puzzle?" And so he started with the New York Times crossword puzzle, and then very quickly he's like, "Cool. Even on Monday, the easiest day, because it goes Monday through Saturday, and Saturday's like the brutal one. It still expects you to know things that not everybody knows. Like, what's the airport code for, like, Charlotte's airport? Or, like, who was this famous actress in, like, the 1960s? And it's just like, why? Like, I don't know that, and I'm just going to have to look it up. And so this was kind of cool because it's like everything is something that like, it's questions to answers and to words that, like, for the most part, and very rarely do you run into something you don't. And I've just been doing like puzzle craft. This one is like your kind of, if anybody's ever interested in learning how to build puzzles, how to make any kind of puzzle is kind of the Bible. It's like the go-to by Mike Selnicker and Thomas Snyder. So I've been trying to consume a lot of like things to improve and make me better as a creator. Now, you mentioned you like to kind of keep trying to build different things. Are you working on any other styles of Cryptex or any other kind of puzzle box in general? Have you ever thought about moving to like other like built and created like puzzly things, or do you usually stick with like the actual Cryptex, like the cylinder?
Well, the Cryptex pays me. I make a living on it, so I generally am making those most of the time. And because they're something that I can build in advance. When I have downtime like this, I'm just trying to build inventory so that when it's busier, then I can focus on, I don't get caught behind and everything. So I'm just building up inventory at this point. I have one thing that's kind of in the works that's sort of an at-home, really high-end, at-home kind of ARG, augmented reality game type of a thing, real-life experience. It's kind of new and different. I mean, I'm sure someone's already done something like it because everybody always does something like, I got this great idea, and somebody else has already done it. But I'm working on that a little bit, and it's incorporating. There's a lot of narrative and story, and it's incorporating. My wife's helping out with writing it's incorporating into her books that she's writing, and so it's going to be kind of a real life experience that you can experience if you read her books. You can be part of the books. You can actually be a character in the books as part of this at-home game thing. I don't know what to call it, but it's
Rita used the term puzzle tale, which I really liked. It feels like that should be kind of the de facto, like it's a story, but it also involves puzzles. Our industry has a huge problem, and we need to come together with like naming things, because everyone's like, you do scavenger hunts, and I was like, technically no. Parks and Rec hijacked that. It's really a treasure hunt. I call them adventures, but like that's very broad. And so it's like we need to come up, and puzzle hunt's probably the best. But I love puzzle tale. I think that's a great like name for it. But I understand. Sorry, keep going.
No, I was pretty much done with that. But like I think that's like escape rooms. Like escape room, it's the worst name because everybody, like, I have so many friends that are like, oh, I get claustrophobic.
I don't want to get trapped. I know. Yeah.
Like, no, you're not. Like, you walk out and they go, oh, well, there's going to be some thing to get out of. I'm like, no, it's like steal the. It's like, did you like Goonies? Well, then play this. And
it's you like National Treasure.
In the movie Goonies, or you're in Indiana Jones. You're like in a James Bond movie. You're like, you're the character. That's what, and you're like, how do you create words for things that don't exist,
Yeah.
and that's really tough because so many people, escape room is just the worst name for what they are. And I think, adventure rooms, I don't know, quest rooms.
Yeah.
I think the Russians call them quest rooms, and that's probably the closest I've seen.
Yeah,
But
it's tricky. I remember I was just thinking of the constant battle on social media, where like hashtag treasure hunt has literally been hijacked by people that like find Hot Wheels at thrift shops. I don't
yeah,
understand how how they got it. It's like I want give me that
yeah,
back. Like I want to follow hashtag treasure hunt and not see a bunch of like dusty toys. I want to see like
yeah,
cryptexes and I want to see like puzzles and cool things. So
yeah,
it's definitely there, but this hasn't been around long enough, I think, for this foothold, and that's one of the big goals is to kind of bring in your everyday people and be like, oh, like this exists. These really high end cryptexes exist. These puzzle hunts and these things,
yeah,
Cryptex hunt and AZ treasure hunt and puzzle tales and to kind of bridge that gap because I think a lot of people have that same visceral reaction where it's like you're like, okay, cool, let's try the Cryptex hunt, and then you realize it and you're like, I don't even know where to begin, and like it turns them off, and it's like, no, like try something simpler, like try easier little puzzles, and you have to, it's
right,
like a muscle, you have to build up into it. It's like knowing codes. If somebody sent me something, I'd be like, I think that's a Caesar cipher, but it's because I've built, I've encoded
yeah,
a bunch of Caesar ciphers. And so there's something to be said about trying to ease people into this. But the moment you solve that first one and you get that dopamine hit, and the moment
yeah,
like you put this together and like it opens, you're just
yeah,
like, oh my god, the feeling is incredible of like having it like fall into place and it finally opens. I love using these cryptexes as like they get it in the very beginning and the
yeah,
whole purpose is to open the cryptex. And
yeah,
so it's like I've done things where it's like a marriage proposal and the wedding ring is in like a little foam thing inside
yeah,
this. And so it's like the proposee, gets this cryptex in the very beginning of the day. And the whole
yeah,
point is opening it. And like it's kind of this little dig of like you carried around your own wedding ring the entire day.
yeah,
And oftentimes I'll take it where it's like you have to find 5 letters. I did this for one of the Reddit Secret Santa ones actually with, unfortunately, a cheaper one, but c'est la vie. Where the whole point was collecting letters and then it was encoded in a Caesar cipher, which for people that are uninitiated, Caesar cipher is basically just shift the alphabet over. So like A becomes B. And it's a great way because if I gave people like a 5-letter password, once they get 3 letters, they're going to know what the answer is. And so
yeah,
you have them collect these letters and you have to be like, I assure you it'll make sense. And so they have to go through all 5 stops. And then they do the Caesar cipher and it's like, oh my god, I have to shift it over. Like, oh, it's Santa. And they open it up and they get, the final clue or the wedding ring or something there. I do have another question, actually, from the puzzle maker, James, who is a gentleman in Australia. God, what time is it there right now? I don't know if he's staying up late for this. He said, the Immersive Experience Annual Report, which is apparently something I didn't know existed, had a crack at standardizing the language of what we do as their immersive experience in some ways. So yeah, it's tricky. You have alternate reality game is one, immersive experience. I interviewed Tommy last week.
yeah,
We talked about immersive design, puzzle hunt, puzzle tales. So there's a lot
yeah,
of organizations. No Proscenium. I know Noah. No Proscenium. He focus a little bit more on like the immersive like theater style, but I know he's kind of
yeah.
building it out. But we'll work on it. We'll all come together. We need to have like it's big enough now to where we can have like a governing board or a union or something.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
man.
it's interesting. There's so many different terms for everything. It's like and everybody has their own favorite things. Like for me, I really like some people just love puzzles. Like I have friends that are just like puzzle, 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 puzzle. That's all I want is just good puzzles.
Yep.
And for me, I want immersion and I want
Yep.
like a good set and I want to feel like I'm in this environment. And you throw some actors in the room, escape room with me doing something like, and it just brings the whole, thing alive for
Yeah.
me. I want to be in the story. And the puzzles for me are secondary really, but it just really depends on what you like. And that's what's really great about escape rooms. I wish there was a way that they could have a ranking system. Like this is really heavy puzzle and low sets.
A lot of rooms have them on their websites where it's like, we have
Yeah,
5 rooms, and this room is good for this, and this room is good for this. But
right.
it's tricky because then you start to get into like, or you're going to end up having like a Yelp for this, and then the escape room designer's like, well, I think it's a 5, and it's actually like a 7. And,
Oh
for
yeah,
different people, it's, you'll never be able to lock it down because there's just some people that love this, or some people just like, I did one escape room that the whole point was like you're in your basement and you didn't do your homework and your mom hid your NES like in different pieces, and so you had to get like the NES, the controller, the game cartridge,
yeah.
and there was one that was a directional. It's like a directional lock, and I was like, I bet that's the Konami code. And for people that don't know, the Konami code is up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, and it's the most famous cheat code because I think it was the first one, and it was in like Contra, where if you did that, you got 99 lives. And so like, I knew, I was like, this thing's got video games theme. This is a directional. I'm gonna try it. And then of course, like 20 minutes later, we found the little sheet of paper that talked about the Konami code. But you can't because everybody's brains work differently, and it's tricky. So we don't have too much time. I want to start wrapping it up, but where can people find you? What's the best way to reach out to you? What should people know about you?
The best way to get in touch with me is probably via Cryptex at cryptex.org or through my website, cryptex.org. The thing they should know about me is I'm really, really approachable about custom Cryptex stuff or even questions about Cryptexes. People don't realize that my entire company is me. So like I'll get people calling and saying, may I speak with someone in your distribution department? And I'm like, hold on. Yes, how can I help you? Or, I wear every hat. I do the manufacturing. And that's the thing is like I do all this production stuff here. Like either here or locally. Like I have a guy that has I have a friend of mine who does an injection molding company, and we injection mold all of these things. I go there and actually do these things. I'm sitting here making the spacer rings and the one thing I don't do, I don't polish the brass because it's really a dirty, nasty job, and I can do it. I'm just not. That's not my area of expertise, and there's another guy that can do it. He does it for a living, and he's like, and it's perfect. And for me, it would take like, 10 minutes to get that, and it wouldn't be as good. So I outsource that to him. But pretty much everything else, all the manufacturing stuff, I do myself. All the shaping of the stone, like this is a blank stone ring before it's been cut and shaped and polished and everything into something like this. I do all of the shaping and everything. Most of the stuff that's actually the handcrafted stuff I do myself. But yeah, contact me if you have an idea. Like I love making custom stuff, and even I love talking about Cryptex. It's just call me up and I'll talk to you for an hour. I think the first time I talked to you, we talked for.
That was exactly yeah. I know we talked about all these plans. Like when this thing finally lifts, come down. Let's do 8 in a day. I think I've done. I think I've done 5 or 6 or 7 escape rooms in my life, which is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
But I would love to like double my record.
Yeah. I'm gonna come down to Portland. I've done 150, which is in the escape room community is not that many. It's like you're okay. You're an average, fair to Midland. But yeah, I want to come down to Portland. I planned 26 down there, so when I come down to Portland, you can join me for however many you want to do.
100%.
We're
really
doing
quickly,
beta days.
What's
though.
the lead time? So if I have a client that has like a massive budget and we're going to do like a proposal, right? And we want something custom with their favorite color or something, like how much time do I need to give you versus like if I just want one of these, I could go on and you could just ship one, because I see over your left shoulder, I see a bunch of them kind of like in different colors, right? You have the pieces at least.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I actually brought all that stuff in and mocked it up on my table.
Thank you. I know.
It's usually in my assembly room.
Yeah.
I have it in a different room. I have all the assembly stuff. This is like my office stuff, and that's where I keep a lot of the other stuff on there. But I was like, well, I got to have something. You don't want to have boxes and things because that's my packing table back there. So I brought in all that, kind of stacked it up so you can see some of the things. It really depends. Like just the standard ones, usually I can get something either immediately or within 4 to 5 days.
Gotcha.
If I don't have anything on hand, like right now I'm out of certain things, I can build one for you relatively quickly, 4 or 5 days. If you're looking for something more custom, like if you're looking for something that's more on the Nevins line type of thing with real stone, depending on what you need, it can be 4 or 5 days, or it could be 2 to 3 weeks. Or if you want something really super custom, with custom etching and all of that, I mean, it could be 6 to 8 weeks or something. Generally, the best thing is just contact me and ask me, and I'll give you an honest one. I've never missed a deadline that I can think of.
Last super quick question that I bumped. So in the Da Vinci Code, the whole point was you can't brute force. like you can't like pull this
Break
apart
it.
because you have the vial. I think I saw on your website you can do that. Is that correct?
Yes and no. I can
Uh-huh.
do it cosmetically. I actually made a nested Cryptex for the movie company producing the Da Vinci Code. They didn't use my design, but it was a large, and it was nested. Like the one in the movie is only a single
Yeah.
one like this. But
And
it's
when
a
we say
white
nested,
marble.
we mean like it's like the
Yeah,
inception of Cryptex. It's like a Cryptex inside a Cryptex, which
Cryptex
I
inside of Cryptex.
desperately need
Yeah,
one now because it's just great. Yeah, we'll have
yeah,
to talk about, I need to grab one of those for sure.
yeah. But I make those. But the I actually have one that's nested where it's in the rose box with a pop out inlay, and then the white marble one with the black marble one inside, and then a vial of vinegar with the papyrus on there. It's all cosmetic though, because uh, it's like I always tell people, it's like getting a really beautiful hand sculpted gun that you can fire once,
Yeah.
and then that's it, you know. And so I'm like, you could do that. It's going to destroy the interior parts of the box and everything. I don't do any, like, vinegar does not dissolve papyrus. It actually makes it a little bit more flexible, so it's not as brittle. It kind of breaks down the fibers. It makes it better.
Yeah.
But the vinegar won't destroy it. If I did anything more strong than that, like an acid or something, somebody would burn their hands, and then I'd get sued. And
Yeah. Someone
I
drops it, and now all of a sudden, like the message is gone. Like
dang
it's
it,
so
the last
easy
will
in
and testament is gone.
it's
Yeah, it's
easy
a
in a
really
story.
great. Yeah, it's a great story premise. It's a really cool story premise, but in reality, it's not very practical.
No.
If somebody really, really, really wanted me to do something like that to where it would break, I could, but it would be so expensive, and it
Yeah.
would just be a one-time thing. So
It's not worth it.
I probably wouldn't do it just because I don't want you to waste your money.
Yeah, I totally
So
understand. All right, well, Justin, thank you so much for
yeah,
people that joined in. I'm going to, in the show comments, I'm going to try to put a list of all like the puzzle hunt type things that we talked about and links. So if you're like, oh yeah, Dash, like I want to check that out, or like the Cryptex hunt. So I'll make sure to have all those links in there. Otherwise, thank you so much. Next week, I'm going to be talking to Justin. He's a gentleman over in the Netherlands. He does kind of similar things, and we'll basically keep doing these every Friday. But Justin, thank you so much.
thank you.
All right.